Hey, what's happening everyone? Cody Lefevre here, that's Animal's favorite enemy, bringing us into this first episode of Gainsline SBD, that's squat, bench, deadlift, for those wondering. I would have included a whole lot of other acronyms, but I didn't want the list to be 9 miles long. This, however, is about all things strong. I'm not going to call it that though. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff besides strong stuff, but most of it's going to be about getting strong, because that's what I like to do. That's what you like to do if you're subscribing to this channel. Maybe you also like burritos, perhaps another reason why you subscribe to this channel. We're going to talk about other reasons why you might subscribe to this channel in just a minute though. First, let's get to where the hell I've been. Turns out I had a bit of an accident. Check it out.
Hey, check this out. Headrest while you're driving. Just clip it right here. Oh, look how comfortable my head's gonna be.
I don't know if that's a good idea. You tied that to the headrest? Oh my god.
I had to tie it in place, or I couldn't relax.
What do you mean relax? You're fucking driving, man.
Gives me neck support.
Alright, so maybe I wasn't flying off cliffs in Ford Broncos, been incredibly busy with school, going to a local community college full-time, studying history. It requires a ton of reading and research, extremely time-consuming, and on top of that, training just was not going very well. Belligerently, I tried to stick with a UHF model for far too long, wore my ass out. Have some historical injuries that started getting very aggravated through improper training, just me being a knucklehead, honestly. And then the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, came when I was a super klutz and slipped on some ice walking out of the garage. So it was not an auto accident. My wife is not completely insane. So at school, studying the history, I'm also practicing drawing. I drew that shit right there. Check it out. It's pretty good. It might not be anything like, I don't know, a Van Gogh or an MC Escher drawing or something cool like that, but I'm pretty stoked on it. It's alright. Okay, so enough personal stuff about me. Let's talk about the updating of this channel. I'm going to be including still lots and lots of lifting stuff. Also going to drop in more personal bits, little skit videos, maybe some other stuff. Who knows? Definitely more burrito footage. You'll get some of that at the end of the video. You go ahead and scroll there and check it out first if you want to go ahead and check out the delicious burrito footage. I'm going to understand. Get a little snack on the front by skipping to the end. Then you come back here. You know what's coming at the end, so you can hang on to it, and then you go back and you skip to the middle. I don't know, but there's burrito footage in here and you should find it. Gainsline SBD is always going to open up with a lift of the week. This first lift of the week coming to me by surprise. Across the Facebook via Candy Toes, Johnny Candy Toes that is. Let's go ahead and review this lift of the week. This is just watch. My God, if you know who this kid is, you're not his friend. This is why this lift, okay, videos like this is why really good lifters don't have friends. Because the minute after this dude finished his deadlift, he watched this video after his bros just cheered him on, and he realized all his friends were lying to him. If you want to be a good lifter, ditch your friends. They're probably bullshitting you about the form. Just go ahead and set up 40,000 cameras in your garage, train your ass off, and just watch all your videos nonstop, because you ain't got friends if you got lifts like that.
Yeah, well, I got lots of friends.
Unfortunately, John Hack had to take second place on lift of the week. His 715 deadlift got knocked down by Felix the Cat. You can check John's deadlift 715 coming up like butter in the description box below. If you know Felix the Cat, someone get him a tutorial on deadlifting. Greg Knuckles has got a really good one. It's going to help you out a ton, my friend. This next part of Gainsline SBD is going to be talking about the podcast or long video of the week. This is the podcast or long video that I enjoyed most. So I watch a few of these per week already, and I'm just going to try and spread the good news. And this one is coming to you from Jug Life, a very popular strength podcast featuring Chad Wesley Smith from Juggernaut Training Systems and Max Aeta. This one they're talking about the super total. Not a lot to do with the theme of this episode, but the super total is one of my favorite things in strength training. The biggest reason is being that it's an excellent demonstration of strength athleticism. Another reason why I like that super total video is Chad Wesley Smith touches on something that I personally hold to be true, is that powerlifting's easy. Out of all of the different strength sports, it requires the least amount of skill, has the shortest range of motion, and has the longest training lifetime of the competitive lifter. Dave Rick set a world record when he's like 50. Go ahead and watch this podcast. It's awesome. There's great footage from Misha, who just recently broke the lifetime super total record. I think he got 210, 250 weightlifting and a 22.5 powerlifting is what they say in that podcast. Insane stuff. Previously been Mark Henry. You know, maybe part of the reason why you're not as strong as these huge guys is that you have a tiny back. Moving on to the topic of this video, the back. If you've ever been wondering why the hell you're weak, it's probably because your back's weak. The biggest difference between Felix the Cat at the beginning of the video and Misha Kokolaev here, besides the obvious that Misha is Russian, the other guy's probably not, is that Misha definitely trains his back. And you should too. If you are unfamiliar with who Ed Cohn is, he is this lunatic who will do neck supported barbell rows. That's a movement you probably don't see very often these days. If you want to have a badass row, do neck supported rows. I see all these people joking around and hating on cheat rows and all this other sort of stuff. Nobody's doing the neck supported row. Look at Ed Cohn, neck supported row. Strongest person on the planet. Coincidence? Probably not. Moving on to the nitty gritty of this, we're going to start talking about the source materials that are linked down in the description box below. I personally wrote 2 of those 3, so go ahead and have some bias reflection on that real quick. Might find some good tips, tricks, helpful hints. That first one is Lats in the Deadlift, a Stronger by Science article, formerly Strength Theory. Goes over proper cueing, understanding of anatomy and muscle function. So if you haven't got an anatomy book or reference materials on your computer, at home in your personal library or something, definitely do that because it's going to help enhance your understanding of where these muscles are exactly, what they attach to, where they originate from, that sorts of stuff. So that kind of detail information that you can go back to and reference is going to impact your training positively because you're going to have that foundational knowledge that's actually important for making smart decisions on how to structure your training. Slight tangent there, make sure you know your anatomy and physiology because the leverage stuff that Greg talks about, he does go into that just a tiny bit. So moving on to some proposed training additions to incorporate some of this information would be changing your reps per set on your deadlift. You can have a different progression plan lined up for your deadlift and the squat or the bench. It's part of the deadlift waveforms concept. I linked that down in the description box below. The big things to take away though is why the lats are important. It's not for keeping the back tight or anything like that. It's specifically for reducing the moment arm of the pull, making you more efficient as you deadlift. So every centimeter of that pull takes a little bit less out of you, and that's how you're going to get stronger, is you can just improve the mechanics of your lifts. This is moving on to the next video I want to talk about is Chris Duffin. You're better than that. You're better than 15 seconds of dubstep. That's all I'm going to say. He put out this technique versus leverages in making a great deadlift. He touches on something that's really important. Don't miss the forest for the trees, in essence. You might have crappy leverages for that particular style, but you can still seek better technique. It's not like the first guy in this video that I made fun of him. I didn't mean to be so cruel, but it was in there for a purpose. It's not like he had terrible leverages for conventional deadlifting. So don't blame it on your leverages. Make an honest effort to having good technique. It's not always about the weight that you can move. Sometimes you really actually have to focus on how you move it. It sounds like some bullshit, but the prettier your lift is, the more efficient it's going to be, and the stronger you're going to probably become. So first 2 tips from me to go on top of this Chris Duffin video is honest technical assessment. I'm going to beat this into your head repeatedly.
Dead.
If you're lying to yourself about your performance, you're not going to get anywhere. The next one is probably a little bit less obvious. 1-point improvement practice. So this is a really simple concept. You just identify that first thing, that priority. Maybe it's the thing you perceive to be the easiest to fix, or you perceive it to be the hardest to fix. Either way, make your plan of action, stick to that plan, and target that 1 point of improvement. By spreading yourself thin and trying to fix all these different things about your lifts, It's going to be, one, confusing to track the different factors that might result in your improvement, and it's going to maybe extend the length of time it takes to improve. By focusing on these one-point improvement processes, you can get stronger a whole lot faster. Find which one is causing you the most strife, maybe the one that's going to be the easiest to fix, work on that, then move on. So those two little tips might help you out. I'm going to steal this from Dr. Israel from JTS. He's got this video back, Hypertrophy Guide, another JTS video linked down here in the description box. Lots of really good stuff in there. If you haven't seen this, it's a mandatory watch for training your back. Some general recommendations though from me. Real quick, if you don't have time to watch it, if you're a beginner, you want to be doing 1 to 2 back movements per training session, 8 to 12 sets a week on the low end. That's the low end of training volume, 8 to 12 sets. Intermediate, 2 to 3 back movements, 10 to 15 sets weekly. Advanced, 3+ back movements per training session, 12 to 20 sets weekly. This is generally in line with what he's talking about in that JTS video. It goes much more in depth, but if you are not within these ranges, you're probably not doing minimum effective volumes, and you're essentially wasting your time. So if you go to the gym, you're doing starting strength or something, and you're only doing maybe 3 sets of lat pull downs, you're getting 9 sets per week across those 3 training sessions. You might need to bump that up a little bit. One other thing to consider with the back training is that the frequency can be a whole lot higher. I personally find I can train my back 3 to 4 times per week. Heavy in volume and heavy in intensity in some days, and I'm generally fine. Now if I'm going heavier deadlifts and stuff, that frequency might be a little bit less, just because the weight would be so much. But when I'm talking about rows, pull-ups, cable rows, dumbbell rows, that sort of stuff, the frequency can be a lot higher. So if you're not training your back multiple times per week, you're going to have a bad time. Going to paraphrase him here, but if you're not Ronnie Coleman, you should probably be doing more than just 1 back training session per week. And that goes along with training smarter. So linked down below, one of the last pieces of information will be an excellent read from BayesianBodybuilding.com. Has this article, 2 auto-regulation methods to improve your training progress. I'm just going to steal 2 really quick quotes out of here, then I'm going to start talking about this article. The first one is, the fundamental idea that your subjective feelings truly represent your physical readiness to perform or level of recoveredness is flawed in several ways. I mean, it's really important to consider. Think about that sentence for a second. The way that you feel doesn't represent the way that you'll perform, necessarily. You can go into the gym and have a shitty day and have it turn out with multiple PRs. I'm fine! I'm okay! I know I've had days like that. Many of you probably had days like that. And auto-regulation is going to help you have a higher average quality training session, and it's going to allow you to think beyond just how shitty you feel. You can go into the gym, have a badass training session, and redeem yourself. Other quote is, another benefit of AVT is that individuals learn to mentally break free from the constraints of performing each set while counting the repetitions, mentally as well as physically. This allows you to focus more on your exercise technique and tends to greatly reduce the mental stress of feeling like you have to perform X number of reps or you have failed. It's important that we have a number of different ways to auto-regulate and a solid understanding of why to choose one way over the other. In terms of pre-planning your deloads and that sort of stuff, you're forecasting a period of stress that might actually not happen. So in such a case, you're reducing your training intensity or your training volume below what is actually needed at that time. Maybe you hadn't been pushing yourself as hard as required. By the time you got to that pre-planned deload, you hadn't induced enough training stress to actually reap the reward from that deload.
Fuck you, asshole.
Pre-planned deloads we see often in off-the-shelf bodybuilding, powerlifting programs might be doing you a huge disservice, so it's better to go a little bit below that surface level, assess what's causing the fatigue, and then make a smart decision on how to combat that fatigue. In regards to using max rep sets and having a VDIP structured training plan, this article is going to cast some light on some things that I probably didn't cover so well in my own concepts of those training methods, namely the reduction in follow-on sets. So if you're using a max rep sets model, let's say you're doing bicep curls and you do a 15 rep max on the first one, it's absolutely fine, and it's implied and accepted that the next sets might be lower in repetitions, maybe going from 15 to 13 to 10. The point is that each set is performed for a difficult effort. You're pushing that set as hard as you can. Also consider your diet and a whole lot of other things. I mean, I'm sure that he talks about that on his website. There's so much stuff there. But when you're auto-regulating your training, you must keep in mind these factors like diet, hydration, sleep, because you might make this training decision to consistently lower training volume because maybe you have a perceived increase that you cannot recover from. The actual cause might be that you're just requiring a little bit more calories. Maybe you're getting slightly less quality of sleep. These are a whole lot of other things that you can consider tracking. It's going to add to the complexity of your training, but it kind of goes back to the honest self-assessment thing. Do you really need to reduce your training volume, or maybe you just need to get to bed a little bit earlier? Another thing is you can actually auto-regulate through increasing rest time as well. So you can keep all of the volume and intensity the same. Just give yourself more rest during the demanding work that seems to take it out of you mostly. So that would be the first step I would actually suggest, would be to simply try to go for more rest between your sets, in particular to the T1 if you're using a GZCL model in your training method. Make sure you check out this BayesianBodybuilding.com article. I'm just scrolling through it. I mean, just so much good stuff. I mean, this is a great website. It's linked in the description box below. Make sure you check those guys out. This has been the first episode of Gainsline SBD. I'm Cody Lefevre. If you've got questions, potential video or article submissions for review, going more in depth on, put those down in the comments boxes below. I appreciate your assistance in the collaboration and success of Gainsline SBD. I'm going to go ahead and leave this video off with this stuff right here. Let's go ahead and watch some of the GOAT just kicking ass in the gym. Son of a bitch. That guy was strong.
Don't you know that I'm loving you? In a God of a vida, baby. Don't you know that I'll always be true?